Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a great episode coming up tonight. We have James Annitto, demonologist, with us. With me, as always, is my hostess, Vanessa Hogle, and, of course, our chat Shananigator, Shana, down there in the chat room. So, really looking forward to tonight. Vanessa, let's kick into whatever housekeeping we have. How you doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Awesome. You just had a book come out.
I did, and it has done exceptionally well. I'm super stoked about that. A lot of people have been really generous in the reviews, and it's made my days.
Yeah, the reviews have been great. All 5 stars out there in Amazon. Very good stuff.
I hit the top 10 in the UK.
That's right. You made top 10 in the UK, and the last I saw was 33 in the US.
Yeah, and it had went up to, I'm going to brag for just a second here, I'm going to shut up. But it went to top 15, and we all know somebody who is really well known out there who was at a number 44 when I was at 15, so I was a little happy.
Ah, I think we know who you're talking about. So I think we know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I was stoked.
I know. And so if you haven't gotten your copy yet, by all means go out there and get it. It is Walking with Ghosts, and I'm gonna put your book cover up real quick. If it'll come on, let's go. There we go. There it is. Walking with Ghosts, Vanessa Hogle. So definitely go get it. Available from Haunted Road Media, and of course you can just go out there on Amazon and get it. But it's better if you go out to like the Haunted Road Media Facebook page or whatever, and actually click on the link there. That helps us better.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it does.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh, you knew these things.
If I listen to Mark, because he just told me that. And that's really important because I just show up. Mike works his ass off. So, yeah, anything to help out Mike, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you know how you could really help me right now? I've got 11 extra of these shirts.
Now, if it said, I'm just here for the rum, I'd be out.
Well, we were talking before the show with James, and he's going to get one. I'm just here for the demons.
Oh, no.
Just here for the D. Just here for the D. All right. So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, and we have to throw Ghosty out here, of course. You know, if you don't have your Ghosty, get your Ghosty. Get your ghost thing on. And then the I'm here, or what is it? I can't even remember right now. The witchy shit shirt. I'm into witchy shit.
Yes.
That Vanessa came up with. It was Vanessa and Shana were talking a couple of weeks ago, and the banter back and forth, Vanessa said something about the witchy shit, and so that's where that one came from. That's the witchy shit. So here's, real quick, and then we'll get to James. I know people are waiting for James. So, and there's the witchy shit shirt. So, yeah, you can get that.
And it's church I am.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Very cool.
Not even ashamed.
Yep. So you get that.
Tammy says she loves her shirt.
Yeah, Tamara really liked it. Shauna got hers the other day. She is going to post some. Yep, she's going to post some pics here pretty soon because I think so far she's the only one that I know so far that's gotten the purple one. So Shauna, we need to see that.
And Gwen got it.
Gwen got the purple one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't seen anybody say anything about it, so okay.
Gwen posted a picture. I'll go back and find it and add it to the page.
Okay. Maybe I just missed it somewhere. Okay.
6:30.
It's been a busy few weeks. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on James Annitto. He is a demonologist and seminarian. And James, I'll just let you go ahead and talk about yourself. Let everybody know exactly who and what it is you do.
Well, must be on the wrong show. I thought I was coming on to speak about dermatology, but I was just kidding.
That's not the D.
That's not the D. But for everybody that just heard, my name is James Annitto. I am a demonologist and seminarian with the Progressive Catholic Church, or Old Catholic Church, more so. I'm a paranormal investigator and researcher for the past 12 years in this field. I'm above the age of 27, so that means I got in this field when I was 14 years old. And basically, for 12 years I've been doing it straight, over 400 cases. I've dealt with what people call demonic cases and a multitude of different other cases. My specialty is, even though being a demonologist, but my specialty is negative hauntings. And that does also include demons as well, which we can always talk about further in the show, of course, which is probably going to be a question. But it's a little bit about me. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm from Rhode Island, so there's a lot of cool places around here that I got to learn from, and a lot of cool people as well.
Where did you say you were from?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island? I've always wanted to go there. I'm not surprised at all that you have a lot of negativity to deal with up towards that area. I was in Staten Island, and I can say the same thing about that. I wanted to jump right in, if Mike doesn't mind.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Just because I know James said if I don't forget, which I could forget, so I want to jump right in there. It wasn't long ago where, I believe it was March of this year, where I was in Virginia, and the chat room's heard all about this, but you haven't. I was in Virginia with Beyond Perception Investigators, and we were working a private house case, all right, a residential case, and we knew what we were dealing with was negative. We knew that going into it. We knew there were a lot of negative spirits there, a lot of very angry spirits. But we encountered something we did not expect. And what that was, we are still, people know how much I hate to use DT. And I don't have a choice. I have nothing else I can use when it comes to describing what we encountered. And it was controlling or on top of and inside at some point what can only be described as a people barn, where people were kept, not animals, never animals. This was not meant to house livestock or anything. It was meant to keep women and children. And it was extremely large. Smelled high heaven. You could smell it, 40 feet away from the barn, and it was the rotting meat. That horrible, disgusting smell that just circled you, just surrounded you. And the only way I would describe it, it was like a human spider that spanned, its arms and legs spanned the top of this big barn. It was like it was straddling it, 4 arms and legs on either side, staring down at us. Am I wrong in believing that was what you studied?
I've done, a little bit, to hit upon what I talked about when I introduced myself. I've done over 400 cases in the past 12 years, and I would say that, what I can quantify as a demonic entity, I've only dealt with anywhere from 5 to 7 true demonic entities in my case, of my analytical mind and my opinion. There's definitely a chance. The one thing that I like to say about this field, there's no facts to what we do. It's not backed by science. But the one thing that we can back and truly back ourselves on in science within this field is the laws of attraction. If you have so much negativity in one location, guess what that's going to attract? It's going to attract more negativity. That is common knowledge. That's part of our universe, and that's what truly exists. We are all energy. So if you have an accumulation of negative energy in one location, what says that it can't draw something of an evil caliber entity such as a demon? Basically, I kind of want to laugh because it's in pop culture right now, and the movie It, right?
Uh-huh.
So basically, it was interdimensional being, aka demon, a lot of people like to say, and he would, of course, in the movie, if you've seen the movie or read the books or seen the original, basically, appeared as a spider, appeared as your worst fear. So that's what a demon does. They don't necessarily, in my opinion, have a true form, but they appear as something that you might fear, or something that somebody might fear. So, of course, appearing as a spider, I've dealt with repercussions dealing with cases where I would have nightmares of spiders, and I'm definitely afraid of spiders. I hate them. So it's a possibility, when you're in such an environment with such high negativity. But the one thing I also say, too, is when you're dealing with the demonic case, regardless if you have abilities or not, you will instantly know there's something that is not meant to be on this plane of existence. It hits you. I've walked into houses with true demonic haunting. And, it's kind of like I always say on these interviews is, in psychology, you have what your body tells you and what your mind tells you. In that circumstance, your body's telling you, get the hell out, dude. This is not right. Whatever's here is not right. Your body trembles. But, of course, with my mentality and with what I do, my mind's telling me, dude, you have to stand and fight. You have to power through this. You have to believe in yourself, believe in the fate that you accomplish within your life. So if that's things that occurred while you were in that location, then there's definitely difference. It's definitely possible. But what I would also like to say too is that a demon, and this is what a lot of people don't really understand. A demon will also not make its appearance known. If it's a true demon, a demon never comes out and says, "Hey, I'm a demon. Yeah, here's my name." So the likeliness is possible, but you also got to understand a demon's never going to represent itself to be what it is, because guess what? Once somebody understands, oh, maybe I'm dealing with a demon, or if it is in fact a demon, it is easier to diagnose the situation, because the hardest part with me and why I get involved before, I either bring the church in or, I get brought in, is to diagnose the situation. The diagnosis part is the very hardest part in demonic haunting, because you got to understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah, on that note, a couple of things. It's kind of interesting to me. Sometimes on the different devices that we have, you'll get a response, of demon, and kind of alerts you right there. Well, yeah, it's not, because it just identified itself as one, so it's not. But question from the chat room from Shana. James, how do you discern an angry or mean human spirit from a demonic entity or an interdimensional entity? So how do you make those differences?
Well, like I said, not to beat the dead horse, but I don't necessarily. I believe everybody has abilities. I believe everybody can be clairvoyant, clairsentient. It depends on how you develop your abilities. Everybody has 5 senses, but technically everybody has 6 senses. It's just how you enable your third eye, or how you use it, or how you develop it. So I believe that, in that same situation, is if, there's negative spirits or earthbound spirits that are, a-holes when they're alive, a-holes when they're dead, and they're very supreme, negative beings. But there's a big difference between dealing with somebody that's negative and then dealing with something that's pure evil with what a demon is. So it's that feeling when you go in. Even if you don't have a garnished ability and you don't know how to control it, once you get that rush, there's certain things too. A lot of people like to talk about the 3 scratches, the mark of the Trinity. But there's 2 differences in scratches a lot of people don't really correspond to. If it's a demonic scratch, it's not ever going to leave that red information mark. It's going to look like 3 cuts by like a box cutter with no information. If there's information marks with the red around scratches, usually it's a human scratch, because human hands, that's why when you scratch somebody, it leaves the information, because the pressure. A demon will never leave that information Also, if you always look at scratches too, and a lot of people really don't see it because they see the 3 scratches, so they get their mind running, it's a demon. But usually there's always going to be a little 4th scratch, because if you look at your finger, your hand, when you scratch somebody, your 3 dominant fingers, which is right here, scratch, but your pinky always does leave a little bit of an indication into the skin, but you'll never see it if you're not looking. So those are some traits that you can look at, but it's more so, I think, the feeling of it, and more than anything, because we can use all these tools in the field, which are great, but you gotta remember these tools were used either as an electrician or plumber, or whichever that we use these tools for. Like, come on, dowsing rods was used to find water sources. A lot of these tools are used for other things, but the greatest tool that you can use is yourself.
Absolutely.
So it's very hard to determine. It takes a lot of steps in what I do to even determine something to be demonic. And even if it is something demonic, it's not like I tell the client you have a demon in your house. I never utter those words ever to anybody besides either my team or myself. Or even to the church if I bring them involved, if it's something beyond just regular demonic haunting, if it's in the oppression or possession stages.
At what point do you decide to bring in the church?
Say that again?
At what point do you decide to bring in the church?
If there's enough documentation, usually, of course, the church requires a medical eval and a psychological eval.
Okay, yeah.
Usually, you would bring them in more if the person is dealing with the possession stage, either if it's perfect possession, which is highly rare compared to a transient possession, which where the demon comes in and out. A perfect possession is where the demon actually has full control at all times. And it's a subject where you have to get somebody involved ASAP, because that person will start losing motor skills, start not eat. If they try to eat something, they would vomit. So usually in that stage, where the demonic possession stage is there, which is a 3-stage thing, infestation, oppression, and possession, I would try to bring them in that depression stage if I can. The church does require a lot of validity before it does get involved. Like I said, the psychological testing and the medical testing. But I would usually bring the church in, especially as a seminarian. With the old Catholic Church, I would bring them in as soon as I had enough documentation, because it is a requirement before the bishop signs off for an exorcist to come in, or even sometimes a priest to come in to validate the situation on their end as well. So it takes a lot of steps, but I would try to bring them in, because guess what? One thing is they have legalities. With such a certain situation, they do all those processes where, with myself, not of course as expensive as the church, can't necessarily do all those steps that they can.
You bring up an interesting point. I want to run back to that just real quick. You said that it shows something you fear. You can ask Mike, and he'll tell you that I feel one thing in this world, and that's spiders.
Yeah, that's the same with Shana, spiders.
And here's another interesting little tidbit to what happened to us there. We were all pagans. All 3 of us who were there were pagans. So the effect that it had on us is different.
Yeah.
From a belief system than it would have had on somebody else. So I really didn't fear it. I didn't. But it was vile and it was disgusting. But I didn't fear it, because I guess you have to really believe something fear.
Well,
even spiders.
Well, yeah, I think where a lot of people disconnect is, everybody thinks of demons and they instantaneously think of Christianity. It's of course not necessarily the case. I think every religion, or every major religion, you gotta remember there's 4,100 religions out there that exist in this world, and most of those religions actually have a concept of evil. If it's demon, Azora, if it's jinn, if it's whatever. There's so many different terms that you can go based upon. But a demon is just a Christian word. But there is many concepts of what a demon is in many different religions, and some of them have different characteristics. Some of them are the same. So it does really, especially when it comes to the concept of the word demon, it does mean to affect more of a Christian person. But I think anybody, and with the right mind, of course, cannot fear such a thing, because once you fear it, that's what feeds it. But I think even with being pagan, I've dealt with people that were pagans and dealt with something of that level as well. So I think it really just depends. If you give in to the fear, then that's when it wins. But if you don't, that just shows you that who you are. You're strong, and that a lot of people don't realize that. Fear is a big thing. That's what they feed off of. They feed off of your energy. They feed off of what you fear. They come in so nice. They come in so like, hey, my name is Bobby, and then I'm no longer Bobby, I'm freaking, Demon Bob or something like that, So they play the nice way. And that's why I say, demonic haunting is so misunderstood. Everybody thinks that you have a level 5 poltergeist ASAP in your house, It's not. It's a really slow, very minute haunting. You wouldn't think otherwise. You just think that, your dead aunt, your dead family member, whichever is in your house, and then boom, and then once that finds out the person, it starts going downhill very fast, because they break the boundaries of that person, and they make them fear, and they do a lot of things to your mentality, which break you down.
James, I have a question for you, and I guess I kind of wonder if this is something that we've done as humans, because we like to categorize things. But like types of demons, levels of hell, all that sort of thing. Where does that all come from? Is there a specific reference for determining all these different types of archetypes of demons?
Yeah, that's a good question. Demonology, emphatically, let's get this right, people. Demonology is just the study of demons and demonic folklore. That is all, and that means every religion, in my honest opinion. Where we don't go in there and start going to do exorcisms and stuff like that. So, our basis of knowledge is those things. Where they come from is literature. It's from people that, it's the same thing, the Bible. The Bible is written by many different people over time, and it's the same thing. That was passed down. Demons, or the ideology of evil, has been around since human conception. If you look at the Christian aspect, Adam and Eve, in Genesis, there's your concept of evil, or I should say your ethical aspect of life, which really is good, right or wrong, and a lot of the wrong and human habit, really determines to how evil has corresponded. So a lot of the things, like with the levels of hell, if you look at Dante's Inferno, with hell being the frozen oasis where treachery happens, or if you look at the different standpoints of how they're stacked, how many demons there are. You got to remember, a lot of these books have different representation of demons, or the hierarchy. It's not all the same. There's been so many different changes within the times of human society. So where demon names come from and the hierarchy would more follow the same aspect of what's been passed down. People that have dealt with demonic entities in the past, and very much older than, of course, Christianity. Those names are passed down. If somebody deals with a true demonic case, especially thousands of years ago, or thousands of years ago, a few hundred years ago, that name is corresponding into literature, and that's how I don't know what hell looks like. I don't know what heaven looks like, and I don't know what a demon looks like. I think there's many different characteristics of a demon, different characteristics of the hierarchy, but all I can do is go based upon what has been given to me by the past, and try to acquire that knowledge and formulate something for the new age. I think every so often, the rule book changes to what we do and to what they are. So it really depends, that it's all from literature. It's all from also hands-on experience from people that actually dealt with it, some of the names are very interesting, like how they came up with it, but, so, that's a really good question. I think that with all the books that I've read, and all the different theories, you also got to remember, it's a theory, it's an ideology, but it's not, there's no fact to that ideology. Even though I've dealt with demonic entities, but I've also haven't had the ability to hear many names either, because, like I said earlier, a demon doesn't just come out and say my name is. Right. It's not like an Eminem song. My name is. It's
Well, I just find it interesting because like this past weekend I did a talk on shadow people, and kind of how we've got compartmentalize the types of shadow people into different types. I know Shana and I were doing some research on fairies not too long ago, and you read some of these books and they have like an entire like social structure. And, like, where did this stuff come from? It comes from myths and legends and all that. And so I haven't done a lot of research on demonology, but I've heard a lot of terms and things like that thrown around before, and so that's where I was kind of asking about that. It's kind of the same thing where it's the myths and the legends and the lore being categorized into these different areas.
You got to remember, humans live. The biggest thing for humans and habit, and of course, this all relates to ethics and it relates to how we live as human beings and how we make things in our life happen. You got to remember the one thing that at the end of the day is what humans love the most is symbolism. And symbolism has a key part to do with demonology, because a lot of people like to reference certain things to demons or to angels and to all these certain things. We give a symbolism, we give symbols, or we give icons or these other things to what these things exist. You really think Lucifer is this red horned creature with with a pitchfork, or these demons have these wings and these horned creatures with look like dinosaurs? You really think that's what they look like? I think so. A lot of that has to also deal with entertainment, pop culture, or the symbolism of what people like for it to believe. It's like kind of when I think it was 1973 The Exorcist came out. I could be wrong. But when Exorcist came out, Ouija boards, spirit boards have been around for many years, since ancient China, ancient Egypt. And of course, when Exorcist came out, look at the Ouija board, look at the mantra of it. Now it's evil because of the movie.
It's not.
Go ahead,
it's not just symbolism. It's people need to realize that a lot of the important books, the Bible and everything else, were written by man, and a lot of people associate the presence of demons with Lilith, who was created first before Eve, and she was sent to what they would consider hell, being, let's just face it, today's times too outspoken. And so
you spoke about Lilith, but technically, Megatron, Lilith, a lot of the books that weren't added to the Bible or excluded from the Bible. So definitely I agree with that. Before Adam and Eve, there was Lilith. So, but yeah, it has a lot. There's a lot of different stories, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different theories to what a demon is. I even have people, who I disagree with, but I'm always open for a discussion and opinion and debate, where psychics and mediums or mediums, believe they see what a demon is. But to me, a demon will never show its true form, because guess what? Once it does, it loses its advantage. So, I think nobody has ever seen a true form of what the demon looks like. The only person I would think is, our higher power, whoever created them. But I don't think ever, a human has ever, regardless of abilities or not, has ever seen a true form of a demon, because, I think once they do that, it loses all that, mysticism of what it is.
Hey, James, we have a question from the chat room, one of our Mad Hatters. Katie Palmer asks, do you need permission from a high priest for an exorcism, or can anyone do one?
Oh, God, no. So basically, I'm not an exorcist, anybody asks me. I'm a demonologist that study. Technically, I'm only a demonologist, and the church doesn't actually look at me as a demonologist. Even though I'm a seminarian, I am technically a demonologist by my training, by my mentor, and by myself, and by technicality. The church doesn't look at me as a demonologist. When I as a deacon, and the council of bishops, say you're a religious demonologist, the church looks at you as a demonologist. I'm not there yet. I've been a demonologist by the word or the title for over 8 years, but I still have not been referenced by the church as a demonologist. So one day I will be a religious demonologist, and I've already talked about it, but one of the main goals why I'm in seminary is not because just my faith and strength in me, but because I'm actually training to become an exorcist. And I went that route because that is my calling. So I'm not an exorcist right now. I don't have the holy orders or the right to do an exorcism or a minor exorcism. There's the solemn rite and there's the minor rite. One's done on a house, one's done on an individual. When you say high priest, when you talk about high priest, you're talking more like high priestess, high priest. That's more of the pagan aspect of. But you would. So basically, when the church gets involved, which I would call if somebody is possessed, if I can't handle it, I call in what I believe to me to be the big guns. The only people that actually do the term exorcism is the Catholic Church. There's other aspects of exorcisms, like other names of it or other ideas of it and other Christian denominations and other religions, but the true aspect of exorcisms comes from the Catholic branch. That's Roman Catholic, that's Old Catholic, that's the Greek Orthodox, that's the Oriental Orthodox. Those are the people that mainly train and participate in exorcisms. There's other aspects of the word out there in other religions and denominations, but it takes years and years of training. My seminary is a fast-paced seminary. I'll probably be doing it for the next few years of my life. And then, of course, on top of the demonology and exorcism stuff, I probably do it for most of my life, training, because it's a continuous field you learn. I have never stopped learning. So, for me to say I'm an exorcist and I can go do exorcisms, and you didn't go through that route, you're kind of lying to yourself. You're putting people at danger because you didn't take the legitimate route to say that you're that person. So if you ever come across somebody that is saying they do exorcisms and they're not of the church, you got to be very careful and cautious with those people, because guess what? The reason that I also believe that the church can also fundamentally do that without the training is because they also, especially the Roman Catholic Church, which are the main practitioners of the solemn rite of exorcisms, is because they also have the financial backing of if any legal issues happen. Right. There's a lot of dangers within an exorcism because not because of what's going on, but because of within the ritual you are provoking the entity to come out religiously. So anytime you provoke a spirit, and we all know this as investigators, you always open yourself up to danger. But the only thing that you have to do during an exorcism, the reason that you have to call upon an entity to come out, is because you have to make it, and by belief, you have to make it go to the foot of Jesus Christ. So the feet of Jesus Christ. So that's how you by provoking it and by breaking. Basically, what it's doing to the person, you're doing to the entity with the power of God behind you. You're trying to break it down as well, and bend down to our Lord and Savior and Christian opinion. So it's really, if you do that without being ordained through the church, then you're putting yourself at danger. You're putting a person that you're doing the exorcism on in danger. And there was just a case where a team in Florida. A bunch of paranormal investigators, and I won't name names, but they did an exorcism over somebody untrained, and the person committed suicide. Oh. And guess what? Guess what's happening to this team? They're in legal issues right now. Yeah, they're not. They're going to be meeting Big Bubba soon. So you got to be careful. It's not something to play around with. Even before the church comes in, like I said, to beat the dead horse over and over again, you have to get psychological tested. And it's not just one therapy or psychological testing situation. They see them multiple times just to make sure that there's nothing mentally wrong with them. and it's truly in fact something beyond the normal means that science can explain.
Right. Hey, we have another question from the chat room. You guys have some great questions tonight, by the way. From Tom McNicholas. What's the difference between a demonologist and a priest handling demons?
Say that again, please.
What's the difference between a demonologist and a priest in handling demons?
Oh, like I just basically just said, a priest goes through seminary, or a religious demonologist is accepted by a council of bishops within a church to be a religious demonologist. My title is more so given to the other title demonologists in this field, and by my mentorship and by, of course, my studies. Demonology is just a study. That's all it is. Let's just end it there. A priest that does exorcisms, or a priest in general, they go to school and they actually get a degree. They actually get a doctorate or a master's in divinity or theology. I don't have a doctorate or master's in anything yet. Once I get done with my seminary, I will have that. And that's why I did it, because I want to do things the right way. My life runs on acquired knowledge. And for me to acquire that knowledge, I have to go that route, because that's the correct route to go. Right now, I'm just some guy that can call himself a demonologist with no degree, nothing. So that's basically the truth. I've read a plethora of books. I've had a handful of cases of on-job experience, if you want to call it that. But still, I'm going the right route. There's a lot of people that don't go the right route and don't go the way of the priest, because not everybody's meant to go that way. So that's the big difference. One's a study, one's an action. You have to go through a lot of stuff in seminary. Everybody thinks it's easy, but it's not. And even demonology is not, and it's not something you should get into if you're wary of things. So there's 3 steps in it. There's demonologist, religious demonologist, and then there's a priest or an exorcist. So that's definitely the differences. Not every demonologist is an exorcist, and mostly no demonologist by the title is an exorcist. So you always got to be careful and wary of who you're talking to, or who you're acquiring the knowledge from or their opinion from, because guess what? I could go read it, even though I already pertain to it, somebody can go read a book about demons and then be a demonologist tomorrow.
Yeah, I had somebody, it was on a YouTube video like a couple years ago that was, that threw out a comment that they'd been a demonologist since they were 12 years old. So I guess they read a book and figured they were a demonologist.
a lot of people, and sorry to cut you off, a lot of people, have come up to me and said, oh, I want to become a demonologist. How do I become one? I just look at them straight. Don't. It's not, it's a study. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people can't take the comprehension and take the time and mental capacity to learn the in-depth amount of books and literature and what you will come across. A lot of people start to think that you're going to see demons all the time, but more in fact you're really going to deal with earthbound spirits. You're going to deal with people that have mental disorders, and when you deal with mental disorders, you have to understand where to red flag it and where to call somebody in that field to handle that. Because like I said, if you let's say if I go into somebody's house, just diagnose it. So if I have to bring the church in, let's say they have psychological disorder, and I say, yeah, start pumping into their chemically imbalanced head that, yeah, you have ghosts here, you have demons here. Yeah. What are you going to do to them? You have to be very careful on how to handle situations. Like, I never talk about the paranormal ghost unless I'm emphatically sure with enough proof that I can talk about it, and I still won't ever, like I said, drop a demonic word. So you always got to be careful, and you always got to look, kind of understand what you're dealing with, because once you even say it, somebody has, even they believe they have a demon, but they have a psychological issue, and you say ghost, they won't latch away from that, and you put them more at a risk than them harming themselves or harming others. So being a demonologist is not easy. It's not fun. It is a calling. Not everybody's meant to do it. Everybody asks me, can I apprentice under you? yeah, I'll apprentice you, but I'm not also telling you that you're going to continue with it or you're going to like what you see, you know. And I've had many people experience cases, not true demonic cases, but very malevolent cases, and they couldn't handle a malevolent case. There was that last case they ever did, and they're no longer part of the field. Okay, I can just imagine if they ever truly dealt with a true demonic case with what you know. Every time I've dealt with one, and I'll be straight honest with everybody. I speak to a therapist, you know, and I've seen some crazy crap, and you know, it really changes you. It either makes your faith stronger, or just obliterates you and your correspondence and what you believe in life.
Oh, we have a couple more questions from the chat room. And I'm going to do them in reverse from the way I have them, because kind of tying into a little bit about what you're saying. This is from Zippy Davis. What made you want to become a demonologist? And you're actually recommending to people not to become one, but you decided to become one.
Well, basically, I'll just say it like this. I've always been interested in the concept of religion, theology, you know, what is God, what are demons and angels, what is evil and good. You know, I'm big, of course, you can't, let's pop this up. I'm a big Star Wars guy.
There you go.
And there's the light side and the dark side. So it's always been a correspondence of my life. You know, I had a very bad upcoming in my childhood, and I questioned God. And I question the validity of why something could happen to a child like myself. So, you know, I started studying very young about religion, about Darwinism, about evolutionism, you know, about other certain topics that corresponds with either debunking or kind of following that religion does exist and faith does exist and God does exist, or, you know, where did we come from and how were we created. So I was always interested in that. And of course, living on Rhode Island, you know, I had the pleasure to be 5-10 minutes away from ghost hunters, you know, taps. And I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, and I grew up watching Scooby-Doo, and I grew up watching all that stuff. So, you know, when I started getting involved in it at 14 years old and started going to graveyards with the tape recorder, with the film camera, with the flashlight, you know, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with trying to search for the answer. And originally why I got into it so young is because I wanted to understand, do spirits really exist? And if spirits really exist, does that mean God really exists? Is there a life after death? And is there a heaven and hell? So when I got into it, it was for those answers, for that self kind of fulfillment. And getting into it, you know, when I got older, 18, 19, and started doing residential cases and leading my own group, you know, I came across a few cases that I couldn't help them beyond giving them the answer saying, yeah, your house is haunted. And that kind of took a lot in me to kind of say, you know, these people are, you know, I'm going home at night, these people are suffering because they deal with a haunting that they can't live by, even if it might be minute, and not really a demonic haunting or highly malevolent haunting. They're still, you know, suffering. They still, you know, want some peace. So it really kind of drove me not just to do the ministry aspect, but to draw me into actually fundamentally learning the aspects of demonology, to understand what people go through and understand the history of it. So that really what got me into demonology. And it's ever since I've been in love with it. You know, I try to escape the damn thing. I've left quite a few times, but I'm always drawn back. You know, I'll take myself off social media. I'll take my name, number, my website down, and somehow, some way, somebody will contact me and say, I need help. And guess what? I'm a sucker.
Yeah, you'll
be there. I always come back.
Well, Vanessa, you're down there waving.
Yeah, because everybody, they were waving at me in the chat, so I just thought I'd hit everybody.
Well, I've kind of run with the conversation here. So, Vanessa, I'll let you come back in here for a little bit. There is another question from the chat from Ether to Shadow that I do want to get to, but Vanessa, I don't want to leave you quiet down there the whole time.
That's okay. Now I have a question, and it's going to seem very juvenile. It's going to seem very elementary, my question, but I'm honestly curious. From your knowledge of what you've studied on exorcisms, on demonology, because like you said, you don't have the actual experience in the exorcism part. but on your knowledge of what you've studied and those you've spoken with, when they go through what they go through to break the demon down, to get them out of that physical presence inside a person, where does it go?
Well, there's only one place that I can say it goes, and of course that's because of literature. I have no idea where a demon goes once that cord is disconnected. In the Bible it says it goes to a lake of sulfur or to a desert, sand, where a desert where they just roam for eternity. But I've also seen where I've done cases too where I dealt with a case, the clients are fine, thankfully, but the entity either comes back stronger or the entity jumps to another location, and eventually, and this has happened, I will be called into that case, and a lot of the same characteristics of the case that happened many, many years ago, or a few months different, or whatever. I did a case, probably 3 years. And 3 years later, I dealt with a case with the same characteristics, maybe the same entity. I can't, of course, quote unquote say that, but it had a lot of the same situations. And to tell you the truth, for people that always ask me, every case is different. There's no similarities in any case. Every case I go to, there's always something different. And even the ones that I believe that had similarities and could have been the same entity testing me another time, there was always a little bit of a difference. And I don't know where they go. Maybe they do kind of go to some jail for a little bit for being bad. And, once they break out, they target somebody else or try to get back at you for, overcoming with your faith and your in the power of God. But that's a question is like to, kind of like throw back at you. What are spirits? What are ghosts? Nobody knows. The best thing that we can say to that question is, and answer is, I don't know. So, it's the same answer. I don't know where demons go. I don't even know what a demon is. I don't think anybody does. If people say it's a fallen angel, that's great and all, but we can only go by literature. We can only go by what we're told. But the best answer is, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. I just always been very curious. It's like, would it hop into somebody else in the room? Has it ever followed you home?
Possibility. It's a possibility of it jumping to another person. I've also seen that where you go through something where all of a sudden somebody lets their guard down. So it's a possibility, but where they go if they do they successfully exit out of the house, that's the grand mystery. I think if we figure that out, I think we can figure out if there is really a god, gods, or goddesses. I think we figure that possibility out, and then we find out if there does truly exist a purgatory or heaven or hell or whatever we like to call it, the eternal dream. So I think if we ever figure that answer where they go, we probably figure out the answer to all those other questions that we always try to figure out in this field. But I also believe that we'll never figure that answer out in our lifetime, or even in our lifetime as humans. I don't think we're meant to learn that until we die, until we pass on. Because you think about it, how many people have asked as an investigator, where do you go after death? And we've never gotten that answer. I don't think we're meant to get that answer until we find out ourselves.
Yep, very true. We never get that answer from any of them. Okay, the question from Ether Shadow is: have you noticed an increase in demonic interaction, and what, in your opinion, has been a direct link, if you've noticed one?
Can you read
I'll repeat it because I kind of bumbled through it. Have you noticed an increase in demonic interactions, and what, in your opinion, has been a direct link, if you've noticed one?
Demonic cases, for however long, especially however long, I've been in the field for however long. My, the 18 before me was, then that means Edward Warren and, Bishop McKenna and Malachi Martin, the 18 in my opinion. Even for that long, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, however long the concept of demons or evil's been around, it's always been a rare situation. 12 years, 400 plus cases, 5 to 7 demonic cases. That just shows you the rarity. Bishop Long, who's a great mentor of mine, and my bishop, basically has been doing exorcisms or been priest for 20 years, and he's only done 20 something exorcisms or 20 exorcisms within 20 years. It just shows you the rarity of it itself. And when we talk about exorcisms, that means minor exorcisms, the solemn, right? So, basically, it just shows you the rarity of them. Do people deal with them more than I do? There's a possibility, but more people also have a less of an analytical approach and like to use that word more often than they should. So it really depends on who you talk to. I feel like it has progressed over time, but a lot of people like to talk about how negative the world is nowadays. It's true, yes, the world is negative, but the world's always been negative. We talk about what's happening, prayers for Las Vegas, but we talk about that. But, you flash back 60, 50, 70, 80 years ago, you had World War II, World War I, you had all these other wars, which were pretty damn bad as well. So, we do live in bad times, but we've always lived in bad times, because guess what? For there to be bad, there has to be good. That's the balance of life. There's not going to just be one thing that exists. And there's always going to be those two. So I don't see it fluctuating more because of the world. It does help. And it does, like I said, the laws of attraction, negative draws negative. So it does kind of amplify it. But I actually haven't dealt with a true demonic case in quite a long time. It's been probably a year or more. So, to me it's rare. And, I don't deal with cases as much as other people do because I try to be conservative. I have a family, I have other things on my plate. And I work with a bunch of people, or I hand cases off to other individuals. But even those people said, it wasn't demonic. So it's a rarity. Influx could be for some people, but in my opinion, there hasn't been a true influx of flux in cases that I've seen. I think it's been the same as long as I've been part of the field.
Okay. So demons wait for TV time.
Oh yeah, you know that.
They're on every TV show now. Yeah.
The TV tryout and the Hungry Man and eat with you, and then they mess you up.
No, there is only one true demon. Hey, there's only one true demon, and that is Shana's stomach. Now that is her stomach demon is like crazy loud. I had to throw that out there. Sorry, my love. I had to throw it out there. I do have a question for you. As somebody who's studied the field for a while, as you have, and I know this would be as an outsider, looking into it. Do you think that a demon, or just being involved in so many exorcisms as Malachi Martin, is that really what killed him? Because a lot of people speculate that.
What Malachi filming the exorcism?
Well, yeah, how. Basically, it was right after performing an exorcism where he passed away, and so a lot of people attribute that to all the exorcisms that he performed, or that specific demon that may have killed him.
If you watch House of the Devil, which is a great documentary, my good friend Ralph Sarchi is a part of it, and many other great people are a part of that. Of course, John Zappis is as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, after dealing with that, I believe it was a little girl. That he was said to have been pushed and died. It's a possibility. I don't try to relate to everything to the paranormal when it comes to my life. I think there's a lot of normal circumstances and natural occurrences that happen more than anything paranormal. But you got to remember, it in some aspect, it's kind of like the law of attraction all over again. When you deal with so much negativity, regardless if it's natural or abnormal or paranormal, negativity can create stress, create anxiety, create depression. It can create cancer. If you've had stress for a long time, these diseases, these things happen to your body. So it's possible that if you're around it all the time, it's like smoking a cigarette. It takes your life away here and there. It brings you down. So it's kind of like dealing with the negative energy. over time that negative energy is going to consume you, and it's going to take you out. Nobody's impervious. I think that's the word, or nobody's strong enough to repel so much negative energy away from yourself, and eventually your body succumbs to it. And that's how a lot of people say, Father Andrew Calder died. Malachi Martin passed away. So on and so on. All these people that were in the aspect of spiritual warfare, doing exorcisms, or involved in the field of negative hauntings. They said they passed on because of their body eventually couldn't handle the involvement anymore. After doing a case, I know a lot of paranormal investigators call it, are tired after investigation, but after I do a case, if it was a deliverance or even just an assessment, or I'm obliterated. I barely can almost stand on my two legs.
Yep. We call it a para-hangover. Yeah.
Para-hangover, I had that before, but when you deal with the negative force, it's beyond a hangover, in my opinion. So, I could just imagine what that eventually does to your body over time, especially if I've only been doing it for 8 years in the negative aspect. I could just imagine 10, 20, 30, 40 more years of it. Am I going to be discombobulated? Am I going to have to walk with a cane? Stuff like that, what is it going to do to my body?
Well, that's what me and Glenn and Chris all said after we had our situation in Virginia. It took a month to recover.
Yeah.
A month to recover. And it isn't just somebody that deals with demons. It's any type of work in this field, advocacy. It took a huge toll on advocacy. Huge toll. So, it's all of us, and it's something that we have to consider because of how far we put ourselves in this field. You do suffer from it. It's just the way of it. You just have to decide whether or not it's worth it for as long as you do it. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah. We're getting close to the end of the show, but we have another question or two to get to here. Thomas McNicholas wants to know, James, do you believe in the Antichrist, and would he take a human form?
Well, of course, I believe in Lucifer, not in the way, of course, like a Luciferian would, or of course, you say the Church of Satan, but the Church of Satan, a lot of people confuse with their ideologies, and I definitely believe in the Antichrist. I believe that let's say it without religious tenor. I'll say it with, like I said. For there to be balance in life, there has to be good and evil. There is a Christ and there is an Antichrist. Because guess what? If you take religion out the window, if you take ideologies, if you take habits, you take ethics, you take all that all out the window, there is a balance in life. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. And for there to be good, there has to be evil. So there is an Antichrist. I definitely believe in it. Because guess what? That's the balance. Light side, dark side, it's the same damn thing. Everything, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Bible, anything in literature has explained to us, and of course this is true, even science, laws of attraction, which we can take more to note than anything else that I just said, because science does rule all in that aspect, because it is proven to be factual, with a lot of documentation, where, there's always that balance, and there's always that good and evil. So yeah, I definitely believe in Antichrist. Can the Antichrist manifest as a human? It's kind of like saying demons can manifest as a human, but I believe in the same aspect, there's always going to be something wrong with that manifestation. A demon can never truly manifest as a full human being. There's always going to be something wrong, or disfigurement wrong with that apparition or manifestation. So it's a possibility. I'm sorry to tell you, I do believe in Lucifer. I do believe that his power of negativity, of his evilness. But if I ever came across the Antichrist himself, I'd probably poop myself and run.
Same.
As much as I have strength in my faith in God, I think that's one battle I could not win without help yours, even though I have all with the power of God. But I also think that, if the Antichrist ever came face to face with me, I'd probably be pretty goddamn screwed. I'm sorry for swearing, but it's the truth.
It's the internet, you can swear.
Hey, I've kept the F-bombs to a minimum. I'm proud.
Yeah, you've been pretty clean tonight, Vanessa.
Well, I did ask before this interview if it was video, because that was going to be my birthday suit. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
I did ask.
He did ask. He did ask if it was video, because otherwise he would have been in his birthday suit.
Radio, I did it that
way. All right, and one last question, and then we'll wrap it up. This is from Sean Gilmore from Ectovision Paranormal. How do you know the difference between strong spirit, or something that's just a strong spirit, and a demon? I know we kind of covered that a little bit earlier, but just to kind of refresh.
Yeah, we talked about that. It's basically the energy levels. It's basically how the haunting corresponds to the home. If you walk into a house, and let's say if it is the possession stages, in a transient possession, the demon's not going to take over the person unless there needs to be a reason for that person to become the catalyst and for the entity to make its appearance. But if you go in a house and there's poltergeist activity happening, like to level 5 standards, where desks are moving and items are rotating, the likeliness of it, doing the theatrics of the situations when you walk in a house, you got to question that. If that's happening and there's real activity there, if that activity is happening right in front of you, you always got to question it. To where I would more lean towards that it possibly is either a poltergeist or a human haunting, because like I said, a demon is a master manipulator. A demon is fear-driven, and it is also, I like to say, and I laugh about it, but a ninja. It's going to strike at you at its least expectance. Your least expectance is going to strike you behind. It's going to tear you apart when you give it the opportunity. So that's a really big difference. You walk in a house, and it does make you feel heavy and negative, but if things are happening right in front of you, like crazily, you always got to question what's going on, because, like I said, a demon's not going to necessarily do that. It's not going to come out full force and say, "Hey, I'm here, get ready." It will test you, but it's not going to make its appearance that known. And that's my opinion, of course. There might be people that say, "Oh no, the demon's going to come out and forcefully remove you from the house." That's really all speculation and opinion. But from what I've experienced, I always had to dig deep. I always had to get the information out and to understand the circumstances before even it was equated to be with the title demon.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much, James. I'm waiting to see if I guess I missed a question from Lynn's White somewhere, and so I'm waiting to see if she'll retype it. But as I'm sitting there waiting for that, how can people find you? And anything that I know you do a lot with the Selma House as well. So you want to throw some information out there for everybody?
Yeah, definitely. You can reach me on Facebook, James. My last name's Annitto. You can find me at jamesannitto.com with the same spelling, of course. Usually it's better to contact me through social media or through my website. My website goes to my email. There are a few events coming up. I'll be in Chicago this weekend for Chicago Ghost Con. I believe that is from Friday night to Sunday night. And that is, I believe, something that you can find on my profile with the details. But I'll be there, and then just kind of quiet October, but I have a few things coming up that can be seen on my website, and that's james.com.
Cool. All right.
Lynn's question is there.
Yeah, Lynn's question is, have you ever heard of an exorcism on a dead person to get them to leave a location?
A dead person to leave a location. Yeah. Usually exorcism is done, unless it's the minor exorcism, which is pretty much it's amplified house cleansing. That's what a minor exorcism is. It's an amplified house cleansing for a demonic infestation. But usually an exorcism, the solemn rite is done on a living person, not a dead person. So you gotta remember, when somebody dies and they lose the ability for free will, a demonic entity is no longer established into that person. They have no reason to control them anymore. So no, exorcism would never be done on a dead person, because once the free will chain is broken, the demonic entity leaves the body and jumps to its next target.
All right.
That makes sense.
Fantastic. Really appreciate everything tonight, James. We have shout-outs to do. I know you guys would give me a bunch of crap if I forgot them tonight. So let's not forget them. But yeah, thank you very much, James, for coming on tonight and spending the hour with us. A lot of great information. And I know that we've been, in a lot of our episodes, we've been very hesitant to throw the D word around. Because it's a lot of people do, especially on television these days. So it was very informative, and we appreciate you coming on and clarifying a number of things.
Very much.
It was an honor to be on, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Do you want to stick around for the shout-outs, or it's up to you?
Sure.
All right. So let's bring up the chat room here, all you Mad Hatters out there. And people are thanking you in the chat room, so let's get into it. Of course, there is Shana, our chat Shananigator. Thanks for shenanigating the chat, my love. Then we have, we'll just go from the bottom on up, Charmaine Charms. Thank you very much for being with us again tonight. Bonnie Halperin, one of our Cheshire Cats. Thank you as well. Our Cheshire Cats are Bonnie Halperin, Donna Gordon, and Tammy Sifford. Thank you. There's Zippy Davis. Thank you for your questions tonight. Alan Wurtzbaugh, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Luli Tubi, yes, I see you there. I see the me. Thank you. Lily's always there. It's awesome. BPI, Beyond Perception Investigators. Gwen Clapper, thank you very much. Tom McNicholas, big patron of ours from Patreon. So thank you very much, Tom, for joining us again tonight. Appreciate that. Ether Shadow, thank you very much for your questions tonight. Cindy Wilson, thank you for coming out. Chipper Terry, thanks again for joining us. Lynn's White, hope I did all right with your question there at the end. Make sure we got it in there for you. Carrie Parrish, thank you as always for joining us tonight. Earlier on, Super Woody Boy was on, but he had to leave early tonight, so I want to make sure I get him in there. Yeah, Tammy Heitzman, thank you for joining us once again, of course. Sean Gilmore from Ectovision Paranormal, thank you, and thanks for the question. Check out their videos too. Let's see, you echoed really bad there, Vanessa, so I didn't hear what you said.
Christy Dunlap, she's new.
Okay, well, thank you, Christy, for joining us. There's Vanessa Renee Hogle in the chat.
Who's that?
I don't know. Joe Chandler, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Andrew Cox, of course. I hope you're not driving at the moment, but thank you. He's always in his truck going somewhere. Who else do we have? Yeah, I see Christy. Christy was out on a bunch of our videos earlier tonight and earlier today, catching EVPs and all kinds of stuff on there. So that was very, very cool. So yeah, thank you, Christy. Who else do we have? Do you see anybody else there, Vanessa? And if we miss you, of course, it's nothing personal.
I think we've got everybody. We got Bonnie, Robert White. I don't think he was in tonight. I think he had something to do. I think
Katie Palmer. Katie Palmer, thank you very much.
Okay,
and Bethany Warner. Yep. I just scrolled all the way back down to see if anybody was popping in there. So, okay. Very, very cool. Thank you all, you fantastic Mad Hatters. You guys had some great questions tonight. And really appreciate, again, James coming on and answering all those questions for you guys. So, again, if you want the coffee T-shirt, hit me up because I got a bunch of them.
Get your I'm just here for the coffee T-shirt.
Yeah, that and don't forget we still have some of the Edge of the Rabbit Hole shirts too. So,
and get my book.
Get Vanessa's book. Get yourself some Ghosty.
Christmas shopping.
There you go, Christmas shopping. You can do some Christmas shopping at Haunted Road Media. There you go. You can do Halloween shopping at Harder Road Media.
Yeah,
There you go. All right. So, thank you all. Oh, what's that? Oh, Joanne Rubino. There you go. Thank you, Joanne. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you once again. Thank you, James. I'm Mike Ricksecker for Vanessa Hogle and Shana down in the chat room, our chat Shananigator. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.
The outro would. Go back real quick. Okay, real quick. I'm back. I almost forgot. Andrew Covage could not make it tonight. He did ask me earlier if he could have a shout out. So there you go. Andrew Covage. Thank you, Shauna, for reminding me. Now, here we go.
Oh my God.
Good night.
That's a first.
Yep. And still waiting.